email that out to you later this evening so that you can watch it again if you need to. So know that there are multiple means of access available to you as we go. Continuing on, we have some quick agreements that, again, these were going through the scrolling at the beginning, but we do ask that we offer each other grace and that we extend that to ourselves as we're trying new things. Yesterday, if you were in one of our sessions, you saw my 3-year-old join us. That may happen. You may have pets come in and out, who knows. I ask that you ask questions if you have them, put them into the chat. Try something new. There's a good chance that maybe you know a few of the tips and tricks that we're looking at today, but I really encourage you to try something as we're going. Try something that maybe you've never encountered before. And if you find something that you think will be helpful, please share it to a peer. And that may be this whole presentation. It might be just one little strategy that you find, but I really encourage you to pass it on. And that leads us to, finally, we're all Virginians. Right now we have 130 of us in here, 180 have signed up, so we might have more going or joining as we go. And we're all here to help serve our students. So again, just wanted to go over that very quickly so that we can spend more time in each of the tools that we're getting into today. All right, so continuing on, accessibility allows us to tap into everyone's potential. And that is a quote that I found a couple weeks ago when I was putting this session together. Notice it's not just my students who have a 504 or an IEP. It's every single person's potential. And I think that's really important. There are going to be some strategies that we look at together today that started off as an accessibility feature, but now every single person benefits from using it. And our phones, my cell phone is chock full of them. The technology that we use on a daily basis is full of universal design elements that make it where everybody benefits, not just people who may rely upon a certain tool or resource. So we're going to start off with this concept of universal design. And when I first heard about it, it was 2014 or 15. I had just started being a digital teaching and learning coach in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I was assigned to work with the assistive technology team. And I went to our first meeting not knowing much. I went in just like everything I need to know. And the two women who are on the team did. And Emma and Cindy, over the next few years, took me under their wings, taught me as much as they possibly could. And it started with understanding universal design. So this is a concept that started off in architecture. And with that, it was really looking at what are the design principles that we can build into every structure that we have that allowed the majority of people or all people to be able to access that building. And from there, as great educators do, we co-opted that idea and started applying it to learning, and that's how we landed on universal design for learning. An awesome depiction of this is this little cartoon, and I love sharing this with people. I think it's the one that Cindy and Emma originally shared with me all those years ago. So just to go over it real quick, on the right we have snow. Remember when we used to have snow? I miss snow days. So we have, could you please shovel the ramp? All the other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I'll clear the ramp for you. And then the person in the wheelchair says, but if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in. So how can we make it where these ramps to learning, these strategies, these tools that help all people access the content become the livelihood, kind of the building block foundation for how we build our learning for our students, not just in a time of distance learning, but really when we get back to the classroom, how can we leverage it then too? So today we're going to be clearing those paths for all learners, including, I'm pretty certain that everybody in this group, when we're done, you'll adopt some of these strategies for yourself too. I know that I certainly have. So looking at this, UDL, Universal Design, often shortened to UDL, one of my favorite resources for that concept is CAS.org. And CAS.org has just a plethora of research about universal design. And they have broken down largely into 3 different guidelines. And within each of these, it does go into greater detail. But if you get these 3 main pieces, you'll be in a pretty good spot with your kiddos. So the first is looking at the why of learning, and that would be engagement. How are our students interacting with the content and the ideas. So how can we make it purposeful? How can we motivate and things like that? Next is in representation, or the what of learning. So representation could mean, well, I have this idea, I have this concept, I'm going to represent it through my voice, and I'm going to tell my students. I'm going to represent it also by having them be able to read something or have a picture of that concept, or maybe I do a video. And it's not a or it's not an or this or this or that. It really is an and. I allow my students to choose which of these they want to access, and they may be more than one. And then finally, action and expression. Now that my students have their knowledge, how are they going to show it to me, the teacher, and outwardly? And so this, again, is giving our students different ways in which they can represent, I know that's kind of confusing with representation being the middle, but now it's how can they show what they know. So we're going to keep coming back to these three ideas, and as we talk about these different tools, these different strategies moving forward, I will reference engagement, representation, and action and expression consistently. Again, if you want to learn more, you can click anywhere on this picture and it'll take you to CAST.org and their awesome resources. So now that we have a basic understanding of what UDL is and these three guidelines, we're going to move into Chrome extensions. And Chrome is the most commonly used web browser in America. I use it nonstop. I know a lot of schools have Chromebooks, and so the entire system there is built on using Chrome. And Chrome has these superpower things called Chrome extensions. And in the top right-hand corner of my screen, you'll notice that I have a few showing up right now. And there's a good chance that you have some in there too. Today, we're going to look at a few of these Chrome extensions. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but I feel like they do a good job of representing the type of tools that are particularly helpful for our students. And there are multiple tools that might do some of these same jobs, but we want to make sure that we at least see how we might apply some of these concepts. All right, so the very first one that we're going to look at, and you might be wondering, why do I have a picture of The Incredibles? Well, one, I have little kiddos at home, so we watch a lot of Pixar movies right now. Disney Plus is certainly getting a workout on our TV. But I like to say that extensions give Chrome superpowers, and it allows it to behave in a way that it couldn't do before, and it really extends what we can do. All right, so getting into our first one, it's a tool called Read and Write, and this is from a company called TextHelp, and I absolutely love this tool. It's one of my favorite ones. So I do have a video here that in the future you can go back and watch. I do want to give just a few bits of information about Read and Write before we do a demo, though. So the first thing that we might expect about Read and Write is that it does read aloud. So I can go into any web page and it will read the text for me. The next thing that I particularly like is that it does automated vocabulary lists. When I was working with the assistive technology team down in Winston-Salem, we did a lot with pictograms and being able to represent a word using an icon or a picture. And when I saw that Read and Write for Google can do this by itself without me having to take any steps, I was amazed, first of all, but then I'm like, I need to share this with as many teachers as I possibly can. The final piece of Read and Write that we're gonna look at together is text leveling. So this makes it where the words are, they'll switch in some synonyms for words to make it more accessible for our kids, and they can go through and adjust it. If you wanna learn more about Read and Write for Google, if you click on this link for Learn More, this is the Chromebook App Hub. This is a database of learning tools that Google put out a year ago. And in here, you can get an overview of any of these tools, and they have about 200 tools that are available through here. So this is a really great place to go when you're like, I need something for X, but I don't know what it is. I would start off here. So from this resource, we have an introduction to Read and Write that you can watch. You can see how to use it. And then as we keep scrolling down, we get into, well, here are some ideas that you can use in your classroom, including Read and Write Bingo, student curated vocabulary, and story soundtracks. I'm going to bounce into student created or curated vocabulary real quick. And this is me. Okay, so I thought I entered this one, student curated vocabulary. And in here we can see tips for success. So a lot of this is looking at accessibility, how we can help serve English language learners or people with students with special accommodations. And then it walks you through how to use this particular tool for making student curated vocabulary. So again, a lot of resources that you can find from the Chromebook App Hub, and you might want to check that out in the future. So at this point, I'm going to bounce over to this other account where I have a Read 'em Write extension pulled up. And yeah, today we're going to be learning. I needed to find some good news, right? There's a lot of madness going on. I couldn't just go to the New York Times or Washington Post. First of all, I'd hit my paywall and couldn't see anything. So I found this website called Good News Network. And we have Guy Fieri and we have Bill Murray, right? I never thought I'd see the two of them together, but now we have them. And as we come in here, I had this little Read 'em Write for Google icon up here. And when I click on that, it's going to bring in a toolbar at the top of my screen. Okay, so now I have my toolbar in here. And look how easy this is. I'm going to hit play. Look how easy this is, right? Okay.
Food Network star, chef, and lifetime restaurateur, Guy Fieri has raised more than 22.
All right, so we have Guy Fieri, and as we are going through and having the read aloud, so when we think back to representation, right, we have the text, and we also have it, the audio version. At any point, I can pause and replay it. So again, representation, I can engage with it on my own time period. With this, as we're going, the entire paragraph is highlighted. So I get some contrast. The word that's being read is highlighted a different color. So I'm being able to engage with this in many, many different ways. I love this. So when I'm done doing my read aloud, I can just hit the stop button and it comes back out and I get my full suite of options again. So some other things that we can do, if I wanted to have it read an image, or if I needed it to read a PDF, I can use Screenshot Reader. And this will let me draw a box around certain text and be able to do read aloud that way. Continuing down, I can do Screen Mask so that I just get my one paragraph at a time and I can really focus. So think through, I'm no longer distracted by anything to the left or right. And it's kind of like having your finger go through through a book as you're going, or having a pencil. I know those are some strategies that people use. And continuing through our toolbar, I'm going to use this highlight button, and I'll highlight restaurant, and I'll highlight country, and career. So I have 3 different words in here. They're all highlighted. And I want to show you this amazing feature. I absolutely love this. So when we come in here and I click vocabulary, it says vocabulary list, new document containing your vocab list is being created. And guys, I'm about to do a magic trick right here. So when we look at this, it's refreshed, it has a brand new Google Doc for me. It has my vocab list, has my 3 different words. Again, I have each table, line of the tables, alternating color, so I do get that contrast. It gives me the definition. In just a moment, the symbol is going to pop up, so I get my first symbol, country, 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 and finally I have career, right? And all of those are represented in here. Now, some other things that I have, by default, it has notes, right? So my students can come in and maybe they write a sentence using the word restaurant, and they could, build that out. I've worked with some teachers that when they make their vocabulary list, they might do a right click and insert a new column to the right. And now they do palabra, right? And now we would have our student go through and type in what that word, how to represent that word in their home language. And now we can, really help to meet all sorts of different types of learners in the same resource. So I love this option. We will come back to Google Docs and some other amazing tools that are built into Docs in just a moment. But I'm going to bounce back to our article and show one last thing. So in here, we also have Simplify Page. And this is getting back to the text leveling that I talked about a little bit before. So in here, notice all of the advertisements are gone. So in terms of just losing whatever distractions might be in there, this is really helping my students to focus. And if I click on Simplify, now it's going to go through and adjust some of the language in here to make it more accessible for my students. I do have some other options. I can adjust the contrast. I can change the font, including Open Dyslexic for our students who may benefit from that. And I can adjust the spacing, again, to make the content more accessible for our students. And the fact that each student can go through and set their own desired settings makes it adaptable for everybody's unique needs. So again, I love Read and Write for Google, one of my favorite tools. I'm glad I got to share that with you real quick. But now we're going to transition to a tool also made by TextHelp, but this one's for my math people and my science people. So a couple weeks ago when we first did the session, I was looking through the feedback afterwards and people were like, I'm a math teacher, what about me? And so we quickly added Equatio in here. Again, an absolute favorite tool. So this allows our students to represent and express math equations in multiple ways. The other thing that is amazing about Equatio, I've worked with a lot of teachers who say, my students need read aloud, but read aloud tools don't really work when it comes to math, when it comes to equations. What can I do? And the answer truly is Equatio. So I'm going to bounce back to this other account over here, and we're going to use Equatio first to do read aloud, because that was a jaw-dropping experience when I first started working with some math teachers. But then we're going to look into how we can build using Equatio as well. All right, so here is, let's find a complex looking math equation. That one scares me. I wouldn't even know how to read it. So I'm going to use my Equatio tool. And it allows me to do screenshot reader. I'm going to draw a box around my equation. And in just a moment, it does take a couple seconds to kick in, but you'll be able to hear it once we get there.
1/6 times open paren 30x minus 24y close paren minus 1/8 times open paren 32x minus 16y close paren.
Okay, so other than the paren part, this is pretty flawless, okay? And I've seen it work with even more complex equations than this. My students, if they're doing their test, they can replay it.
1/6 times.
Or if they click on these three dots, they can copy it and then take it into a Google Doc or take it into a form or slides, wherever, and be able to paste it. So now we have it represented this way. It doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me, but I can come back and instead of that first option, do math ML. And my math teachers are like, you're doing it wrong. But I'm not a math teacher, so I'm doing my best here. All right, so I'm going to turn off Read and Write, and now we're going to focus on how Equatio works within a Google Doc. And I think you'll really enjoy this as well. All right, so I'm closing this and clicking my Equatio button. And it comes in at the bottom of my screen. Both TextHelp both Read and Write and Equatio are free for teachers. So you can use these. I do have the link on our slides. You can find that. We have our equation editor. So I might be able to paste in our note and be able to insert it. Something else that I think is really cool that I can do from here, I've turned on different equations. So it will do autocomplete for these. Help me, math people. I don't know what I've done. Okay, so we're back to it. So if I need the area of something, maybe I need the area of a triangle, I can bring that in and it's automatically there. And that also exists for science. So my chemistry folks, you can do that same thing and be able to just auto insert any of those that you need. It also has Desmos built in. Again, I'm a recovering English teacher, so I don't know all of this. I know Eric could probably chime in and tell me all about it. I love that we have handwriting recognition, so multiple means of expression, right? So I can do 2x plus y. And over here, next to my, next to what was the area of a triangle, we get 2x plus y entered in. I can do it through speech. So again, maybe my students don't have full mobility of their hands, but we could do speech recording, be able to get it in there. You can connect it to your phone so that you can draw any of these equations on your phone and it will show up on your computer. This is a magical tool, people. You need to love this. There is also a collaborative workspace that you can do where there are a bunch of different math manipulatives. So again, this could be really powerful for my K2, K5 folks, or a lot of geometry would be represented well through this too. So once you're all set and you have the equation as you want it, you just come over, hit Insert Math, and it's going to insert it as an image into your doc or into your form. And once you have it as an image, we can copy and paste this anywhere. We can put it into an email, we can put it onto your website, into Google Classroom, wherever you might need it. So again, Equatio, an amazing tool. You should definitely check this one out. Okay, we're gonna change gears a little bit. So both of those were really looking at these multiple, or these tools that have a lot of different capacities. Now we're gonna look at Screencastify. And there are two main ways that I really wanna talk about using Screencastify. Again, we have a Learn More option. Again, Screencastify is gonna be an extension up here, and I have a short video that you can watch how to use Screencastify. And with this, I love Screencastify because it allows me to put a video directly into my slides or in my Google Classroom, where I might be able to run through and give directions on how to do a certain assignment. Or it also allows me to show my face and just add some humanity. There's a concept that I've been talking about for a couple of years now called feed forward instead of feedback. And I do this largely by using Screencastify. So I'm gonna close out of Equatio and show you how I use Screencastify to do feed forward. So here's my Screencastify in this account. It's loading right now. A cool part of Screencastify is that it does save either to your Google Drive account or to YouTube, and it makes it really easy. When we're in here, and again, this is free, 5-minute limit per video, but I'm cool with that. I'm gonna give it access to my microphone or my webcam. And when I'm all set, I'm gonna hit record. Okay, so once we do this, in just a moment, it's gonna count me down. So I'm selecting what part of my screen I wanna share. And I have a lot of different tools going on at the same time. I'm sharing this. One part we wanna make sure that we look at, Stephen, as you're doing your vocabulary list, is the title. Please left align it instead of right align. I love your pictogram in here of the restaurant. I feel like you've done a really good job with that, and so forth. So you can run through your entire, your students' entire document or slides or whatever artifact of learning that they have, and put that feedback in there. Now you might be wondering why I didn't add my picture in, my webcam, and that's because my webcam's already being used for Zoom, so I couldn't use it for both things. But if I did choose to have it turned on, it would just be a square in whichever corner I selected. So now that I have my recording of my feed forward, I can pass it on to Google Classroom, or I can just copy shareable link and share that with the student, whether it's through Classroom, or my favorite way of doing it is going back to the doc, highlighting maybe the title. When I do that, it gives me the option for a comment. And all I have to do is paste that in, and my student can go watch the video of me giving them feedback, and it makes it personal. And that is so important, not just during this time of distance learning, but at all times, that our students can see us, they can hear us, and it just makes it, I hope, more accessible for them. All right, so that is Screencastify, an absolute favorite tool of mine. And we're going to continue rolling forward into some other favorites of mine, and those are Google tools. Now, I know for a lot of you, you're using Google tools on a pretty regular basis, and I absolutely do too. But even if you're a pretty seasoned Docs and Slides user, I really feel that you're going to find something new in this next part that could impact your learning and your students' learning as well. So on slide 14, if you're following along, or if you just want to open up a new Google Doc, I'm going to give you a little tip or trick. If you just type in docs.new into your web browser, check out this magic. It's going to open up into a brand new doc that will be saved in your Drive account. So that's a really easy way, just a one-step thing that you can do to open a new document. So now that I'm in here, a few things that I am going to do. So one of my first things, I want to hear from someone, what is something that your students are currently learning? And just unmute your mic real quick, and the first thing I hear I'm going to use as an example.
Plants.
Plants, Christina, that's awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna do plants as my example. You can do whatever you want. So I'm gonna show you, for a lot of these, I'm going to tools at the top, and I'm heading straight down to voice typing. When I do that, it comes up with our friend, the microphone right here. I'm going to select it. Plants make me think of so many different things, period, new paragraph. My garden did not survive the frost from the last couple nights, comma, so we have to go back to the garden center to buy some new tomato plants, period, new paragraph. What's your favorite vegetable to plant, question mark. We love this, right? We use voice to type on our phones all the time. Well, we can do that same thing in our Google Docs, and our students can too, right? So I particularly love this when it comes to the idea of expression. Our students might have brilliant ideas here, but when they see that blank Google Doc, or when they see the blank piece of paper, they freeze. They can't get the brilliant ideas from here to here, right? But they can get it from here to here. I love this as a pre-writing strategy. Tell me everything you know about plants. Tell me all the questions that you have about plants, and we just run through them. And we jot them down, and then we start to go back and find out information about plants now that we have these ideas in line. So the next thing that I'm going to show you, we will wrap up with the voice typing real quick. So in here, right above our microphone icon, there is a drop down. It says English US. Not all of my students that I serve are English US speakers. So we can go through and find even the dialect that we need. So I know that at the high school I serve, we have a lot of Spanish speakers, but they don't all come from the same dialect or the same country. So we can pick Mexico when that's appropriate, or Peru, or Panama, whichever one would be appropriate. But we have hundreds of different languages in here that I don't even know what they all are. So it's pretty amazing. So we can select that. The next thing that I'm going to show you is a magic button in the very bottom right of almost all Google Drive tools. And that's the Explore button. When you hover over this little magical speech bubble in the bottom right, it's going to pop up and say, you're probably trying to learn about these things, okay? So it looked through my few short sentences, but I've even done this on 5, 15-page papers. I'm in grad school right now, so I have a lot of those. And it's still going to go through and try to guess what you're learning about. I'm learning about fruit. So I'm going to click on tomato, and it's going to do an entire Google search for me directly in line where I'm doing my typing anyway. So this might be my note-taking on the left, and on the right, I'm starting to find my resources. So through here, I get a little bit of information on this card. I can keep scrolling down, and I find other resources like Burpee or the Almanac, and I can start to learn from there too. when I find the information that I want, and this is hard for me to say, again, coming from the English background, if my students copy and paste and they're doing their note taking, I no longer care. And I'm a little nervous to say this. So I'm pasting this copied information in, but look at what I can do. When I hover over this resource, it comes up with the citation button. And so when I click on that, it puts in a footnote for me, and it has now cited it. Now, we do have a couple different options in terms of what the citations look like. Midway down my scroll, I have web results, and to the right are my 3 dots. And by default, it's going to be MLA. That's what I always taught, but again, in my grad school classes, we're APA, so you can go through and select the right one for you. I love this. So some other things that we can do, those are all our web results, but we also can bring in images. When I click on images, these are some great looking tomatoes. Oh, I could really go for this right now. So I'm going to find the picture I want and do a plus sign. And now that picture has been added to my document. But check this out. I know there are many different ways we can add in images to a Google Doc, but what sets this approach apart is when I click on it, it gives me the link to where it came from. And it's a royalty-free picture, makes it very easy to find. And it's not a full citation, but at least I know what the source is. Whereas if they just copy and paste one in, I have no idea. The third thing that we can do from Explore is if we click on Drive, it's looking through all of my files in Google Drive for any mention of tomato, and it's going to suggest it too. So this is really helpful if I'm doing lesson planning and I need to find a lot of related documents. I can type in, well, here's the name of the book, or I can type in plant unit, and all of those documents will pop up for me, and I can click on it and easily navigate and find linked resources. All right, I told you, I love Google Docs, one of my favorite tools, but there's a little bit more that I want to show you as we're going through. So far, we've looked at our voice typing. We've looked at using the Explore tool. And the final thing in Docs that we're going to take a peek at is back in Tools, and it's coming down to Translate Document. So when we're talking about accessibility, I keep saying this, but it's not just students who have 504s or IEPs. Accessibility means everybody can access the content. So I'm going to drop in, use the translate option. So this is Spanish, translated copy of untitled document. Right beneath this, I can choose a language. And again, I have many, many, many languages that I can choose from. And here's my Spanish, translate. And in just a moment, it has made a copy of that resource for me, my translated copy, and we're good to go. My student can access it now. Parents can access it now. Scrolling through, I still have my pictures in here. I still have my citations in here, and it has made it accessible for that student. Now, a little bit ago, we had our vocabulary list. So if you wanted to translate this document, you can do that too. So again, it would be Tools, Translate Document, and then being able to choose the appropriate language. And I love that it does the entire document. Now, a question that a lot of people ask after I show them the translate option in Docs, well, can I do that in Slides too? And unfortunately, it doesn't quite behave the same way as it does in Docs. What it does translate would be any speaker notes that you might have in there. So again, behaves a little bit differently, but could still be helpful, particularly if you copy any of the text from your slide into the speaker notes, all of a sudden you've hacked it and it will work for you. All right, you need to remember to breathe. I got so excited about how we can use Docs to make things accessible. All right, so we're going to continue on to Slides now, another tool that I use all the time, and I know a lot of you do as well. And the first thing I want to show you is closed captioning within Slides. So I'm going to move into present mode. When we're in present mode, down at the bottom, we have this toolbar with a couple different things that we're going to be going through together today. The first is captions. Do I know? Okay, so Eric, can you ask the question to me real quick? I did just see your text, but I'd like to get the clarification on it.
Yeah, back in Google Docs, somebody had a good question. They were wondering if it would do the citation for something that has Creative Commons licensing.
So let me show you my approach to make pretty much anything, well, I guess a lot more things accessible. So I know we can get Creative Commons from a lot of different places, but if I'm gonna go back and get my my URL for the article we looked at before, and you could do that same thing with any Creative Commons items, being able to go back, get its URL, and then when we're in our doc and we have Explore open, I can just paste the URL in here, and it's going to be probably the first one, and I just cite it as footnote, and now I have it in there too. So even if it doesn't show up in here, I can use a search feature up above, and generally things work. And if they don't, the other citation tool that I sometimes use in docs is an add-on called EasyBib, and that would be my other route that I'd take. Is that good, Eric? Feel like it answered it?
Karen, does that answer your question? Karen Lloyd? All right, I think we're good.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're back in slides, and down at the bottom of my screen when I'm in present mode, I have this option for captions. Welcome to Google Slides. Today we're going to look at how closed captioning works. We can also see that there are Q&A options. Don't know why my screen's not quite loading completely correctly, but we can see as I was going that we did have our captions going at the bottom of our screen in real time. Again, this is helpful for our students to be able to hear us, but also to read it. That is helpful for students who might have some hearing barriers or English language learners. They can get it represented in two different ways at the same time. And the other thing to know, one, I think it doesn't make anything hard for as a teacher to have that going automatically, but your students can be in the back of the room, have that turned on just on their computer and still be able to hear you or be able to read it. It'll pick you up. So pretty helpful that we can empower our students to enable this themselves as well. All right, so I'm going to turn that off now. The other feature that I want to highlight from here is the Q&A option. So when you're in present mode, we have a Q&A choice. And this brings it up so that our students can ask questions and have a back channel as you're doing a presentation. So it will take just a moment to load. It's going to give our students an address that they can go to. I'm going to start new. And so our students can go to slides.app.goo.gol and check this out. Our teachers or our kids can ask questions as we're going. We can have someone else who's responding, and it makes it really easy. The other part that we can do in here is add audio or video to our resources. So in here, last week I added an audio file, I think.
I would encourage that teacher to keep in mind that my child was only 4 when we made.
Okay, so I don't even know what I was recording at the time, but we can put audio explanations of a resource or do a read aloud component into your slides as well. Let me show you how to do that. So the first thing would be we would need to have audio on our computer. I know a lot of computers have either a voice recording software or we can use our phone to do that. Once we have the audio on our computer, we would go up to Insert and Audio. This became an option about a year ago, and Google was launching it and then taking it away, but now audio is a choice that we can use. You would just go in, find the, be able to go in and find whatever audio file you want, select, and it's going to add it to your document. It's a little icon here. We get the choice of it plays when we click on it or it plays automatically, and we can do some really cool things with Read Aloud that way. The other choice that I'd like you to really think through is, again, using maybe a tool like Screencastify. You record your explanation of how to use the assignment or use the resource, and you come up, Insert, Video, And you can either find something, you can do a YouTube search directly here. If you already have the URL for YouTube, you can drop it in. Or if you did do the Screencastify recording, that's going to save in Drive for you. And you can just go through, find the video that way, and be able to insert it. It's taking a little bit of time. My computer has a lot going on right now, so that all makes sense. Oh, and just as I was getting it, I turned it off. So anyway, these are different ways we can leverage within Google Slides. The next place we're going to go is YouTube. And I love YouTube. It's one of my favorite learning tools. I think it is amazing. So I'm going to bounce to this account and show you what we can do. So I'm going to do a search for plants and second grade. Drop this back down here. Okay, so we have plant parts and functions. These all could be helpful. I do want to just encourage you that regardless of if it's a second grader or a 12th grader, probably finding a video that's closer to 3 minutes or less will be more successful than a 15-minute video or a 20-minute video. So I really want to focus on the filter option. So when we come in here, I have my results, I'm going to filter. I can say I want it to be short, less than 4 minutes. And now it gets rid of all of those longer ones. And again, it makes it more likely that my students will be able to fully engage with the video. Also from filter, I can look for ones that have subtitles. I can go through and choose one that is more recent. So I need it to be from the past month. And those are all going to show up. So when I find one that I like this one, 18,000 people have watched it, I'm going to go check it out. As I'm in here, some other things that I want to showcase, we can do closed captioning in here as well, just like we did in slides. When I click on the closed captioning.
The life cycle of a plant. A life cycle is the...
It automatically happens. And even if you go in and add your own recording, your own video in, you can use these built-in features to create closed captionings for your own videos. But wait, there's more. Okay, so that's making it accessible in English. If I click on the settings gear just to the right, now I can change it to another language. So by default English, but auto translate. And now I can go through and find French.
The stages of development and growth.
It doesn't change her voice, right? But it does change what the captions look like. And again, I just get another way that we can access the content and make it available for our students. Okay, so those are the few different parts of YouTube that I wanted to make sure we get to. Some other resources that I really love when it comes to accessibility would be Flipgrid. And this is an amazing tool that we have. It's a free tool from Microsoft. It's always been free. It will always be free. And a couple of years ago, Microsoft made a really large committed effort towards improving their accessibility game. And so when we get to Flipgrid, I'm in a grid that I'm using with a group of teachers tomorrow. A few things that I particularly like about Flipgrid is that I can have my topic over here, but I can also add in a video.
Welcome, educators. My name.
Where I explain this same thing and again, make it more personalized. There's a tool built in throughout all of Flipgrid called Immersive Reader. When we click on that, any text that I have gets brought in this way, and I can do that read aloud. I can also change the text preferences to do the size or add some high contrast. I can highlight, I hope my K2 kids especially love this, so I can come in and say, highlight the nouns one color, the adjectives another color, and all of those pop in. I can even do syllables. I have a 7-year-old at home who's still building his literacy skills, so we could use this with him and make it very accessible for him. We can also do translation. So I might do Catalan, and we can translate it by word, or often doing it by document makes it even more accurate, so we can do that too. So it's getting context when we do that. And I can toggle back and forth between original and Catalan. Some other things that we can do from here. So if I'm watching a video of one of our sharers, so I'll pick someone I know, let's see, Stephanie. So in here.
Hi, Adam.
I can replay it. Our students can replay it as well. We can adjust the speeds. If I need it to go slower to really understand, I can do that. The other thing that's really cool, I can give video feedback to my students. So she has recorded her idea to me, and I can record that feedback to her as well. And again, just multiple means of access. A feature that I think is pretty cool, immersive readers built into the videos too, so that any reading that I've done, any spoken words, will transcribe it for me too, so that we can engage with it that way. So really cool features built into Flipgrid. Definitely a tool that you should be checking out if you haven't yet. We do have a short video in here, and they have a whole web page about how they've tried to enhance accessibility. So if you click on that link, Flipgrid and accessibility, you can go through and see some other ways that they're trying to really make everything available to all learners. All right. So continuing through, another way that I like to make things accessible, and I think that this really avails itself to the learners who we serve on a regular basis, and that would be using visual literacy skills that our kids have, right? Like they know how to represent their ideas through emojis. They know how to do it through memes, through Bitmojis, through GIFs. Let's leverage that. So I love that emojis are built into Flipgrid. They're built into Google Classroom. You can use them for topics and you can organize things that way. I really encourage you, think through how might you use these types of tools to be able to showcase different ideas to our students, or have them showcase how they're feeling right now. What is it like to be a learner in 2020 going through this? And they can surely be able to represent that this way. So we are moving into our wrap-up phase. So I do want to thank you guys for being here with me and learning alongside me today as we looked at these different tools. I hope that you found at least one new thing that you can explore on your own, or that you can introduce with your students. I know that when I first saw a lot of the tools and strategies that we looked at today, I might have a particular student in mind. I'm like, they need to be able to see this. I want to be their champion. And I really think that through these tools, we can find those kiddos and be their champion. You can always reach out to me at Adam Seipel. Quite a few of you have done that as we're doing our presentations. That's really cool. I can't wait to engage with you on social media. You can also email me, adamseipel@gmail.com. Feel free to use either of those. I do want to thank Eric and John for being amazing moderators as throughout this entire series, but especially today. Thank you guys. You have made this possible. I couldn't do it without you. And a big thanks to Pam and Liza for making this series completely free for our educators. Thank you so much. So Vassal, you've been awesome, a great partner. And at this point, I do invite you to leave some feedback. So I'm guessing that my moderators have put the bit.ly into our chat, so you can go there. Or if you want, you can click on our slides, or just type in bit.ly/VASCLBACK, and that will take you to a short form. You can give me some feedback. I do change these sessions every single time based on the feedback. We're continuing to grow and get better as reflective educators. This is also where you'll go if you need to get a renewal certificate. Once you fill this out, generally pretty quickly you'll get that. I think yesterday there was a little bit of a delay, but we've gotten that worked out. I can't wait to see what feedback you have. Hope it's been helpful. If you have questions, you can stick around. Otherwise, thank you for joining and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. That was really engaging.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Very
I
good.
really appreciate what you did.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.
Adam,
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
We just found out we're going to be using Schoology in the fall. Does any of this work with that? Do you know?
Yeah, Schoology, my district uses it too. So a lot of these tools are going to most likely work best if you, Schoology and Google Drive work very well together.
Okay.
So I'll run through a few of them and how they'll work. So what do you teach, Evie?
Chemistry.
Chemistry, okay. So for you, if you used different equations, your students could use Equatio to do the read aloud,
Right.
even if things were in Schoology. Or if they needed to do a response, they could use the equation builder in a Google Doc and then copy and paste it over into a Schoology response. So lots of ways that those interact. You can certainly still use the Screencastify tools, and really any of the Google tools that we did in that middle section would also work pretty well. Again, because so much of what the teachers who I support use, they're building in Drive and then bringing the content to Schoology. It's definitely a partnership. And then Schoology also has some of its own accessibility features built in that you can go and find as well. John, Eric, any additional thoughts on accessibility in Schoology? Cool. I'm guessing that meant we hit it pretty well.
Yeah, I think you
Thank
covered,
you.
especially on the way
Hey,
down.
Adam.
Yes?
This is Andrea Pine. I have a question. I'm currently enrolled in the Virtual Virginia course. Are you familiar with that?
I think so.
They're using, I'm new to all of this, but they're using a system called Canvas LMS.
Yeah, Canvas is great too.
And I'm just getting into the meat of like how to build a lesson. Can you use Google stuff in this? Because it seems to like the Microsoft launcher better.
So good question. A lot of times when a district sets up an LMS, they work with the Microsoft, the learning management systems like Canvas or Schoology will work with both Microsoft and Google. But when they set up the account, generally they set it up to work better with one. They establish that connection. Again, Microsoft has really made some amazing strides when it comes to accessibility tools. So most likely it would just be a slightly different click path, but you could get a lot of the same things. I'm guessing that you can still bring in resources from Google Drive pretty easily, even in your version of Canvas. But again, it might be that your district has just prioritized the Microsoft connection over that of Google.
I don't think we've prioritized anything yet. I don't think we know what we're doing. We were just all encouraged to take anything we could find during this time because we're not doing anything right now.
Okay.
And our kids, a lot of them don't have access, but if we give them devices from school, it'll be a Chromebook.
Okay.
So, I just wondered, I'm only 2 weeks into that, so I'm just now figuring out, trying to build all that too.
Yeah, we're all building together.
Yeah.
So I would say just practice grace when it comes to the people who are making decisions. And if you found some of these tools particularly helpful, especially thinking through Equatio or Read and Write, those are paid accounts when it comes to students. But if you click on that Learn More link, they have information in there about how to enroll students and get those accounts.
Yeah, I'm a special ed teacher, so I'm really intrigued.
Absolutely.
as far as practicing grace, for anybody who's still on here, the Headspace app is free for educators right now, and is one called My Life. It used to be called Stop, Think, and Breathe. And they have a YouTube channel as well with lots of cute little meditations for kids. So
cool.
Pull the videos in.
I'll admit that I use the Calm app, again, free for teachers right now. Right before we started, I was in a weird headspace and had to kind of center. So thank you, Andrea, for that suggestion. Awesome.
Thank you for, I'm taking your next class here in a minute too. So thank you.
See you in a little bit. Bye.
All right.
All right. Any other questions out there?
Hey, Adam, this is Sarah Bachman. I have a question about Flipgrid. Can it be used in Google Classroom?
I watched the.
Hey, David, I think there we go. Okay. So can Flipgrid be used in Google Classroom? Was that the question?
Yes.
Yes, you're going to love this. Okay. So I'm going to reshare my screen and just walk through how easy that is. Okay. So don't want that up there. All right. So I'm in Flipgrid. I have my topic created. When I click on share, check this out, Google Classroom right there. And so I can select that and it will come up with, here are your different classrooms or different courses, and I can just post it directly there.
And that was Remind there next to it, wasn't it? Because I use Remind.
Great. So it's connected to some of our favorite tools.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
Great. All right. Any final questions?
Thank you. That was great.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Trying to say, how do you do it, Adam?
Got a good
great job.
flight.
Thank
Good
you.
kids.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to close this session out. Thank you guys so much. I will be sending off a follow-up email later this evening. I'm sure some of you will be in our next session in just about half an hour. So I'll see you there. Have a great day.
You too.
You also.